Yeah, I drank this well, I got this tea called like almond chocolate, but I was like, I don't know if that's gonna taste good. It smells good, but it tastes like watery chocolate if you've ever had like chocolate milk, but no milk.
Yeah, but no milk. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Hey man, there was once upon a time that we were poor and sometimes we couldn't afford the milk, so it would just be chocolate water. That's all right. The Nesquik
Exactly.
powder in water. Hey.
Oh shoot, I forgot about that. Yeah, it has the Nesquik bunny on it too. Strawberry was my
Yeah,
jam. Okay.
yeah, true enough.
Okay, so hello guys, welcome to TreeBark. This is episode 6, and here I have a furry to interview. He's actually a good friend. His name is Gear, or is it more accurately Gear Senshi?
Gear Senshi is the name, but I go by FoxGear on FA a lot more, so everybody pretty much knows me as that.
Okay. Would you like to give a little bit of a background on yourself, or like, if somebody had to meet you for the first time, how would you describe yourself?
Oh my goodness, let's see. Well, I'm a fun-loving guy. I love to just hang out, make friends, and just be social overall. I'm very easy to get along with. It takes a lot to actually be, I guess, on my bad side. So
Hmm.
typically, I'm really good at intermingling with just any kind of personality type. But of course, I have the ones that just kind of don't click with me, and then I do my best. But if it continues, then well, I mean, sometimes you just can't help something.
Yeah, and I find that like the furry fandom's a pretty like for people who are often like introverted and stuff, especially like online. It's a pretty like I find a lot of people are able to be social butterflies. So
Hmm.
yeah, I definitely like got out of my kind of little bubble out of high school and stuff when I joined the fandom. So how did you? I kind of this is like a icebreaker and stuff. So how did you out of the gate like get into the furry fandom? Like what's your start?
All right. Well, that's a question that always comes up, actually. So I would have to say that it was as of many, probably many people already. They had their furry gateway drug, so to speak, which was yeah, it's like many people are Crystal, but then I was one of the Renamon people.
Ooh la la.
Digimon was one of my favorite. I know, right? Ooh la la. Um, excuse me. I gotta say, whenever I first saw Renamon, I was like, "Hey, wow, that's an amazing character. I'm going to look her up as a background for my computer."
Mm.
Even though it was a very old computer, it could still do the background. So I was happy enough to go and try to find a picture of her. Strangely enough, I ran into the site called Yifstar
Oh, I never
at the
heard of
time.
that.
It's so furry now, I
So
believe. So if you ever heard of So Furry, it used to be Yifstar.
oh, okay.
Um, but I didn't know what Yif meant at the time, so I was just like, "Hey, Yifstar, they've got a lot of Renamon art. Let me go see." It's like, wow, these are great. Luckily, they still had the thing where you had to log in to see the adult stuff, which was fine. But I was just there for the really cool pictures that artists were drawing of Renamon doing Diamond Storm and stuff like that. But in doing so, I did make an
Mhm.
account
Mhm.
and I remember that I was going through one of these. I can't remember the artist's name exactly, but she did a Renamon picture, and she actually had a journal that read, "What furry are you?" And I was like, "Furry." So then I started looking at all through her gallery and just noticed that hey, there's a lot of like animal people in here. Whoa, these are awesome. I want my own animal person. I'm creative. Um, so she had a journal that said, "Which furry are you?" So I clicked the link, and at the time it was one of those really basic, really from what I remember from it was, "What's your favorite animal?" or "What's
Mhm.
your favorite animal?" And yeah, so
Oh,
I chose a dog.
it was like a form
Yeah,
you had to fill out?
like a little tiny form that had like 7 questions on it. I think something like that was like, "What's your favorite dog?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like, yeah, I like dogs. I want to go with dogs." And it's like dogs. And then you added some of your personality type. And I mean, at the time I was young, so I didn't really know anything about that. So I just kind
Oh,
of
wow.
clicked and clicked. And then it was like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" And I was like, "A husky." All right. Huskies are amazing. I love them because we had a husky at the time. And Her name was Isabel, and I loved her to death. She was the most derpiest dog ever. And I was like, that's my favorite favorite breed of dog. So I was like, husky. So then I went through the process, and then it says, yeah, it's like, judging by your personality type, you are indeed a husky. It says loyal, friendly, and easy to get along with. And I was like, great, I totally do that. And then at the end it says, all you have to do to make your fursona is take your favorite animal breed and mix a human through it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then it gave me a basic one of those basic pictures of what the fursona, quote unquote, would look like. And I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. So I took that stock image and started using that as my profile picture for God knows how long. But yeah, so actually, contrary to my FoxGear name, I am a husky.
Yeah, so you're actually okay. That's for the record. Then you're not actually a fox, though. It started with a husky.
Correct. I've always been a husky. I've never changed species. I've never done anything like that. Only recently have I started dabbling in species transformations, which allow me to get a little bit closer to some of my closer friends. But yeah, I've always been a husky, always been a canine, never a fox. The only reason why I chose FoxGear was because, to me, it sounded a little bit more fluid, a little bit cleaner than HuskGear. HuskGear seems kind of blocky, and to me, it doesn't roll off the tongue as well as FoxGear because it's all just a simple, like basically slip of the tongue, so to speak.
Okay, so it just has a nice flow to it that you thought at the time.
Exactly, that's pretty much all it was.
Also, kind of like stepping back a bit, that program that you used actually for filling out all of like the characteristics and stuff of your Sona, did you know that like other people had Sonas and stuff, or was it like kind of then that like, oh hey, there's this community of other people online that you could interact with?
At the time, like I was saying with that artist, I don't remember her name. It's been so long. She actually had her fursona in her that she was drawing in her gallery. So along with all the Renamon pictures she had and Gilmon pictures and all the like fan art she did, she had her own fursona and stuff like that. And I was like, that really got me into thinking. I was like, oh wow, this looks really interesting. And then after I made my quote unquote stock Sona, I went into the main page of Yifstar at the time and realized, hey, wow, this is actually they're everywhere. So this is a common thing. I'm like, okay, cool. And there was forums and everything like that where you could write stories, look at art, RP or roleplay. Okay. So it was a little bit of everything.
And what year was this around the time?
Oh Lord, let's see.
Because I take it that you are a furry veteran compared to me.
Yeah, technically, I'm a gray muzzle. So.
How would you define that? Not to divert too much.
No worries. Gray muzzle, in my experience, is if you've been in the fandom I think it's 7 to 10 years. For me, some people might say it's only 5 years, but for me, it's like you have to be. It's like, to me, if you're talking about dog years,
okay,
7 to 10 makes you a quote unquote old dog. So why not make that be where you're a gray muzzle, where your fur starts turning gray, kind of thing. Actually, so I would say about 7 to 10. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so about a decade then for actual dog lifespans. That would count. That makes sense.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I thought. So in the end, that's why when some people ask, I'm like, okay, yeah, technically I am a gray muzzle. I've been in the fandom over 10 years. So it is what it is. Okay. But year, oh, goodness gracious.
What's that?
I'm trying to remember. I know it was when I was really young.
Oh, so this is actually before high school, or...
Actually, yeah, way before. I think it was middle school, if we're being honest. But the good news is I didn't get into the naughty art and stuff like that until I was at least 14, 15, because then that's when I was kind of like, I need something to pique my interests, if you know what I mean. And then I realized that, hey, there is a not safe for work button
Yeah.
on my favorite site that I go to.
Yeah, it's
And then I
definitely around
realized
that
that,
that
yeah,
puberty time and stuff.
yeah, exactly. And then that's when I realized, oh my God, personas can be a little bit more than what just I thought could be possible.
Yeah,
And then that's when I really got into it.
that reminds me of like Blarg when he was telling me about his earlier experiences too in the fandom. Did you get into like any of the comics or series too at the time?
Oh yeah, I did. I really did. I followed a few artists that actually had really good comics and uh, what is it? Stories written on their pages, and
Mm-hmm.
that's actually kind of what helped spark my interest in writing, and that's why I kind of became my own writer. Uh, it's like that's probably something that not a lot of people know, but I actually do write stories myself, and I am currently in the process of hopefully someday having my own book published.
Yes, I remember that you were showing me a little bit of your secret stash. I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
allowed to say that,
yeah, that's
but
fine. That's fine. It's like no details. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
Keep
exactly.
it out. But no, seriously, yeah. I do. I really like story building. I like world building, character development, everything like that. So, uh, I remember I would always post random short stories on Yifstar, and they did. They got a lot of traffic before I kind of up and abandoned it for Affinity.
You
But
betrayed
that's
it.
because the community over there was pretty much dead at the time. So I was like, oh well, there's not many people here
Oh
anymore.
no.
And
Did
then
it
everybody
just
migrated.
Oh,
It
okay.
basically just died because everybody was like, oh, FA's where is it at? Where it's at now? And I'm like, okay, well, let's go to FA then.
And then that just became like the new site, I guess. I guess would you say FA has like the most popularity right now? I think they're still working on tweaking it too.
Correct. Yeah, I would definitely say that FA is like the majority holder of the fandom's presence at the moment
Yeah.
because I know there's a lot of other sites out there, but it just feels like in a lot of instances that if you say to somebody like, what is it? I forget the other site name, but one of those new sites, if you mention that,
I've seen Furry Network. Have you ever heard of that one?
yes, I have. That's one of the newer ones that if you ask somebody, they're probably going to be like, what's that? But if you say FA or for Affinity, they're like, oh, yeah, definitely know that. Everybody knows that one. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, it's like a home staple, I guess. Um,
Exactly.
Kind of like getting me to think about like the websites too of the time and like what we have now, like with our smartphones. Did you ever
Hmm.
hear of some of these apps like from Furry Amino to like Howler and all these other kind of social platforms that are actually like based around the community?
Yes, yes, I've heard about Howler. Um, let's see what else.
Is that
I can't remember the other ones in all
is that
honesty because I don't use.
Yeah, I don't use them too either. I tried a little bit for Amino, but I kind of always got lost. And I think, I don't know if this is just me sounding like an old fogey or something, but like I use FA way more than I use any other social platform as far as like the community goes. But the, what do you call, the way that like if you had to compare it to what you had at the time and seeing it progress on our smartphones, like do you think that that's a cooler way to see the fandom grow and become like more quote unquote mainstream? Like what's your opinion on that?
I would say yes, because I mean, as technology advances, so does a lot of social platforms, because it makes it easier. I mean, look at it. We went from, well, I personally went from MSN chat,
Oh
that
god,
really
those are the
bad,
days. Yeah.
yeah, the really bad connectivity issues, blah, 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 going on to Skype.
Yep.
And then from Skype onward to Telegram and Discord. So uh, there's been that point where you kind of just advance with technology and also just go with the flow with the groups because everybody's like, oh, the calls are so much better on Discord, or it's like Skype. It's like their security format has been compromised, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I can't really stay with them anymore, especially since my account's been hacked like 7 times.
I know somebody's got to
But
get on some infosec and not lose their personal data.
exactly. So I mean, in the end, it's like I said, it's just ever evolving. Better security, better networking, connection, communication, everything like that. And then even if you did like Skype or whatever, I used it for years and years, but
Hmm.
connectivity did go down because like stability issues and blah blah blah, and then also security issues. But then you just really find out that a lot of your friends already transfer over and then they don't use that platform anymore. So in the end, you have to also make that change, go with the
Yeah.
flow, and just switch over, because if you don't, then you're not going to really be able to talk to anybody now, are you?
Yeah, and one of my favorite platforms actually right now is, well, even since I just got into the community, was Telegram. I don't think I know of any other better app or social way to engage with other people, from like friends to huge groups and forums. Um,
Exactly. I have to agree with that because ever since Telegram came around, it was just really easy to do groups or just communicate with people. It's just message them at their at. It was just really easy to reconnect or just connect with new people.
yeah, it became,
Um,
yeah, that's a really good point, because it became like, I don't even think Telegram noticed this until like the influx of furries, but because we're so social, you'll find a lot of people just like getting to know people over that platform, and then actually like finding a lot more local furs in their area and stuff, because
exactly.
you can add like location features, and it seems like the perfect kind of like texting app that's, for one, free, has like unlimited storage, and like GPS data and stuff. It's amazing.
Exactly. I agree with that. But yeah, and then another thing that probably made it more key for the fandom was the
Hmm.
implementation or the implementing of the stickers
Oh god.
and animated stickers. Once you were able to do that, and then once that first furry artist decided, oh wait, I can upload my own stickers, and then it'll be nice. And then the moment they used it on one of their friends, it was like a brush fire, and it just set fire to the entire fandom. And everybody was like, yes,
I saw
commission those stickers.
I saw yeah, that's another thing, like, I mean, if it's art based, furries are going to be on it.
Of
The
course.
the thing about the stickers too was, what is it? I believe the artist is Now and Later. Like, oh, they just have a
Yes.
huge work log that's just amazing. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
I think eventually I'd like to get a pack or two from, and Now and Later, right? Is their name, I
Yeah,
think.
now and later. I actually have a sticker pack from now and later.
God, I bet that quote is like huge though. How long did it take to get in that line?
Um, Not long, believe it or not. Whenever they opened, I asked and they gave me a slot, and I think it was like a month later that I got a full pack of 10 stickers.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad of a wait. Um, I know a lot of artists will probably make it like a longer time, but they're very quick in their trade, especially since they've been doing stickers so long.
Oh, I guess they just have the formula already set for making new stickers.
Exactly. Exactly. And they're like smaller in the end anyway, so it's a little bit easier, I suppose. I'm not sure. I would
Yeah.
have to ask them.
Yeah, you know what I would like to see? Like that, I really like their quality and style too. I don't know. Do you know if they
Hmm.
do any comics related? Because I think that would be a really cute style for a web comic or something.
I agree, actually. But I don't think Now or Later does comics just
Mm-hmm.
because they are time consuming. And I think they actually addressed that at one point,
Oh, okay. I
is
mean,
that it was just too time consuming for like money ratio and everything like that.
I guess, yeah, fitting, that makes sense, like fitting it into already their really like largely established Telegram sticker business, I guess.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay, so is there for, I guess, for a lot of furries too, since you've been in the community starting off online through Yifstar and everything, and then gravitating towards FA, was it then that you were aware of like fur cons and fursuiting too? How did you discover that kind of aspect of the community?
I would definitely say that it was whenever I truly got into the fandom. Um, I would probably say pre age 19. I wasn't fully committed to the fandom. I had my times where I would look at uh, naughty art and such like that, but
Yeah.
until I became 19 and I did that changeover to Fur Affinity.
So
Um,
was it was this, you mean like when you consider yourself a furry, like I am a furry now?
well, not so much that. I guess to what I meant is when I was more actually involved in the community itself. At the time, it was on and off thing. Like, oh well, this is a nice little thing to look at, and maybe get art every so often. I think at the time before 19, it was mostly, oh, I won a raffle. Oh, that's awesome. I'd like you to draw a my persona. And you say that you can help me design him a little bit more. Excellent. Because believe it or not, Gear was always a husky, but he didn't have his Gear shoulder markings until probably about uh I don't know, probably about 17 or 18 whenever I won a raffle and the
Oh,
artist was like,
nice.
"Would you like anything added?" And I wanted to make him a little bit more of my own, a little unique, but nothing over the top because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I saw all these I was never one for complexity, I guess you could say. So I mean, I see many people out there with way over the top designs
17
and stuff
different
like that.
colors.
I guess in the end, as they're called, sparkle dogs.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no shame in that. I
No, not
mean,
at all. Not at
you
all.
define yourself as however you want. I was just never the type to go overly complicated when it came to just my base design. So that's why I'm just a regular husky with cogwheels. But apparently, doing that makes me stand out a lot more than many other people because everybody's like,
I
"Oh, I recognize that guy."
Yeah, I don't seek the gears on the shoulders very often. If anything, I think you're probably most well known for that.
Yeah, I mean, I did meet a kangaroo guy. I forget his name, but he did have cogwheels on his shoulders as well. But he would always say that people would mistake him as me changing species,
Oh.
and he hated that. And I was like, I'm really sorry, I didn't know about you, and blah blah blah. It's like I'll let people know that you're not me, but it's just basically something else that pops up too with I
Mhm.
guess with the popularity.
Mhm. So that's pretty cool. I like how, like you said, so it was actually a little bit of the artist that you wanted to kind of change things with your Sona and develop. So it kind of happened like naturally.
Hmm. Exactly, pretty much. I mean, like I said, at first, like I said, I used that stock image of that husky,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then from that point, I kind of just moved a little forward, moved a little bit forward, and then I just kind of realized, this stock image is nice and all, but I want him to be me. So I would just go about. At the time, I didn't have a name, but I did give him later on Gear as the name because one, it's my love of technology and my love of robotics. And one of the main components in technology and in robotics is a cogwheel. So
Mhm.
I wanted to be like, as the personality type is, I wanted to be the kind of guy that was in a social setting with friends that he was able to keep the machine rolling. So if there was
Oh.
ever any disputes or anything like that, I was able to keep pushing everybody through and work it through until we were all just one big happy machine kind of thing. That was my way of thinking at it at the time.
Wow, that's really way more in depth than I ever thought about my own Sona, to be honest. Wow. I'm a dog. I'm kind of brown and tan, and I have a flower on my back.
Hey,
That-
that's great too, though. I enjoy your design.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And then yeah, it's kind of the main reason actually for it's kind of similar to yours, where I even have this crest. I do kind of like the Japanese family symbol crests, and a lot
Hmm.
of them have like this floral pattern. And I was looking through a lot of Japanese history textbooks and stuff at the time, and this is about a year or two ago, before I even like, had my partial fursuit or anything commissioned, like even art. Um,
Correct.
Starting off, yeah, similar to your like document building, like, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna identify myself as? So I went with dog, and to make it my own,
Always a
yeah,
good.
I slapped on the crest, and that became like something that I wanted to develop more meaning for. So that that then pushed me to commission like a partial. I was like, oh, this is gonna be me. So I don't know. I think I do want to make it, give it that sense of uniqueness, kind of like everybody else. What did you then, once you had your Sona and your gear design set, did you start looking into commissioning a suit?
Actually, yes. Let's see. I think I was 20 or 21. Either way, at that time is I pretty much had the design for gear down set pat. Uh, Over the time I've been in the fandom, he's always been that way now. It's
Mm-hmm.
just gears. Nothing else has changed. But when I joined FA and everything like that, I did start seeing more and more for fursuits start popping up, and I was like, oh my lord, that's awesome. I was like, so, and then I also did the cons and everything like that.
Which was your first con?
My first con was Rainforest. What was it? 2012 or 12? Yeah, 12 or 20. I can't remember. 10.
Oh, nice. Oh, well,
Yeah, yeah,
rest in peace,
2010
Rainforest.
because that. Yeah, I know, right? Rest in peace. I know. Oh my lord, that's a whole nother story. I was not part of that, thank God, but
Did,
still, I was like, oh my God,
did you
why?
attend that year though?
Yeah, actually, yes, I did.
Oh, I think Blarg did too.
Like, you're right. Yes, I did actually, and I did hear about stuff happening down at the pool and blah blah blah, and I was just like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm glad I'm not part of that group. And so I
Oh
would just hang out
gosh.
with my little clique of friends, and we had a fun time, and the panels were great. And actually, that was the I believe the year prior. Actually, the year prior was the one that I actually had my fursuit, and I found a really good fursuit maker, and she was really great.
Mm-hmm.
She only charged me $655 for my full suit.
Oof.
Uh,
Wow, that's a good
like,
price.
yeah, I did. I lucked out, and she got it done within a month. Like,
Oh my
so I didn't
God.
think I was going to be able to take it until the next con, but she got it to me in a month, and it fit perfectly, and it was the best thing I ever had. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's my suit maker, and hopefully she's going to be making Gear 2.0 for me. Excuse me.
No problem.
Um,
But oh, so you have
yeah.
another one in the works right now.
Not yet, not yet, but me and her have been talking, and we're gonna get 2.0 going because 1.0 he's getting kind of to the point to where it's kind of time to retire him because it's
Mm-hmm.
been well over 10 years now, so he's
Oh,
kind
due
of
for a refresh.
it's like no amount of brushing and showers and washing machine visits and cleaning will relive his golden days, so to speak.
Aw,
But I
that's
mean, I still
okay.
enjoy it. Yeah, it's still the memories, though. That's for sure.
Still a well-deserved retirement.
Exactly.
Well, that's wait.
Ugh.
Who is your maker though? Are they still making suits otherwise,
And
or?
they are. Phoenix Wolf 13 is her name. Is her FA. She also does. Her site is the Phoenix Den, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She does really good work. Really good work. Her updated style is absolutely amazing. So that's why I'm really stoked for Gear 2.0 whenever I decide to actually get him. Um, she is the bomb diggity. She
Are,
sends updates like crazy, and again, she completes those suits really quick, even today.
yeah, that turnaround time is crazy. I mean, especially like if you're gonna go for some of the like big name fursuit makers, you might wait a little bit, or I don't know. Like I don't know how they handle so much.
Or sell your
Um,
kidney.
yeah, that might help.
Sell my kidney. Oh, I took my kidney. Yeah,
the
pretty much. I mean, I've seen some of those price tags that some of my friends are getting, and I'm just like, oh, yeah. I'm like, listen,
my
I
my
like
my
to
car is
drop.
worth less than my suit.
Right? Yeah, pretty much. That's how it goes, and it's just like, listen, I like getting art and commissions of every kind, but I don't know if I can sit there and drop 6K.
Oh
I'm
god.
not, I'm just gonna say that right now. I don't think I can drop 6K. Thanks though.
Don't you want
Looks
those
good.
designer suit prices though?
I know, right? Just walk into the con and then everybody's taking pictures and you're like, "Yes, I went bankrupt for this."
Oh my god. Look at how poor. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Well, it's like if you like me so much, buy me dinner because
Oh,
I'm
oof.
starving.
But it's okay. I look great though.
I know, right?
The Oh, okay. So then when you started suiting actually, that's when you started going to cons actually, right around then. What was your
Uh, yeah.
yes or
It was probably about 2 years prior that I started going to the cons,
oh, okay. Yeah,
and then
that's what I'd
yeah.
like to actually tackle. So for those two cons when you weren't fursuiting or anything and just kind of like dipping your toe in the actual like in the meat
Hmm.
of it, you know, like of the I almost said company of the fandom. uh, what was like your early impressions? Like, oh, I'm gonna like get more into this, or it's like, oh God, I don't want to go to this ever again.
At first, it was a little overwhelming, but in the end, I guess I was also coming out of my shell at the time where I was being more social in like in real life settings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the fandom at the con was very, very beneficial for that reason because everybody is like, okay, we are full on hug mode. We are full on pat you on the back. There's interaction and there's physical interaction where it's not sexual, unless I mean you're
Yeah.
looking for that, of course. But I
There's all
mean,
types. Yeah.
what con doesn't have that in the end? But yeah, so I mean, it was just something to help pretty much everybody. Like even if you were a social introvert, I think it would be a way to beneficially help you come out of your shell as well because it's just everybody has a positive attitude. Well, I mean, of course, you have the party poopers, but
Here and
I
there.
mean, typically they're far and in between, but it's mostly people with smiles, laughs, games, everything. Everybody knows everybody almost. It's like one person, you meet this person, they're like, "Oh, meet this person. Oh, let me introduce you to my friends." And then it's just like, "Oh, cool."
It's just a
And you just
cascade. Yeah.
yeah, and then you just start making your own little, I guess, quote unquote furry network. um and it just basically stems from there because then after the con is done, people who you've actually made those connections with, they start messaging you on your messenger and they're like, "Hey, I saw you at the con." And then you're like, "Oh yeah, you did. I remember you." And then that's where a lot of friendships begin besides the just random interactions that you get on some social media until they grow into something and it's like, "Oh, I'm going to meet you at the con."
Hi, do
But yeah.
you RP? Uwu.
I uh, yeah, that too.
Just
Oh
hi.
Lord.
Period.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, I get so many notes of that a day. It's not even funny.
I mean, do you? I guess. I mean, would you bother responding to those, or like? I feel like you need a little bit more, you know, to like go off of.
Yeah, I mean, at first, whenever I was first getting them and they weren't that frequent, I would respond back and I
Hmm.
would just be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, how's it going?" And it just try to talk to the person. And then in most cases they would just stop messaging me and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess they don't want to talk anymore. That's fine." But at this point in time, I get those and it's the no subject, open it up, hi. I'm just like,
Like,
I'm really
yeah,
sorry, dude.
like just give
I'm
me a
really sorry.
question or give me a subject to talk about or something. That's like it goes a
Like,
long way.
or the ones that just straight up start RPing with you. It's like no subject, you go in and it snuggles you. I'm just kind of like, "Oh,
Oh God, I'm not
please."
even. You're just throwing
I'm
in the
like,
story.
it's like I work pretty much 6 out of 7 days. I don't have time for this, my friend. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a good transition. So, how do you fit like the furry lifestyle? Is that separate from your regular day-to-day lifestyle, or what do you think the balance is there for you?
I would probably say there is the separation just because I know a lot of people wear tails and stuff to work and blah 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 like that. And again, no shame or anything like that. It's just something not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've always just kept my personal away from business because I find that if you do so, you go a little bit farther, a little bit faster in your professional life because it's when you're going to work, it's about work. It's not about fun and everything like that. But some of those things do slip through because
That's
I would
just
honestly say, yeah, it's just normal. But I would honestly say it's the social, being as friendly as I am and everything like that. That's slipped through work,
mm-hmm.
and that's a positive thing to have. It can be a negative because then people think they can walk over you, but then that's where you just have to really ultimately know, like, okay, you're crossing a line.
Yeah, there's some
Let's switch to
boundaries.
business mode. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're friends until you're not friends, kind of thing.
Ah, okay. So the way that you kind of parse it is that when I'm at work, I'm in work mode. There's that kind of line. Um,
Correct.
and then the way that I guess so after work though, that's totally not the case, and that's where you go back into like gaming and stuff. The social life is more furry. It's not,
Exactly.
and I find it kind of similar to my lifestyle too. As soon as the business is over, like I'm just back in the furry culture, and it's kind of sad to say though too because I'm also from my high school friends. I don't interact with them too much, like in the normal sense. Like
Hmm.
I'm not engaged with like I guess you can say quote unquote like normies and non furs. It's
Right.
very
No,
much
I,
like you're either a furry or a creator in some fashion, and I want to talk to you.
correct. Yeah, no, I understand that completely. I only have one friend that has been pretty much a part of my life since almost middle school. Um,
Are they a
yeah,
furry?
no, he's not a furry.
Oh,
He
okay.
is, I guess, in the end, a normie. But he totally accepts that I'm a furry, which makes our relationship a lot stronger. More to the fact being that he's like my best friend, and in the end, even though I torment him with a lot of the furry stuff that he's not into, he still accepts me because I'm a cool guy and we really click together and we're good friends, and that's how we have a really strong relationship with one another. That in the end, I was his best man for his wedding, and that was one of the biggest honors
Wow,
for me. Is that I got to do that for him,
you're
and
still
I
a
did.
best friend. Yeah.
Exactly, and it was just his best friend and his best man, and I was his right hand man. It was great. I remember that I went there, and his dad came up to me and says, "Hey, listen, I know you're the best man, but no strip clubs and everything like that." And I said, "Of course, no problem." As I say, as I cross my fingers,
Ooh.
because that's what a best man does. And then we went out to a strip club.
Oh my god.
I'm kidding. We didn't do that. I promise we didn't do that. But no, but we did take him out. We had a nice dinner, and I had where was it? I can't remember, but I did pay one of the waitresses to come over and hit on him, and then give him a kiss on the cheek, and he was kind of like all flipped out about it, and then we were just laughing at him, and I told him it was a joke. It was a great night. We all had fun, and it was a great. He has a great wife, and they're a very good couple now.
Right on. Oh, that's really nice. And that's cool that like a person can just accept that like oh, just because you're a part of this like interest or not even kink culture or anything like that no one jumps to conclusions or anything. And I kind of find that about my friend regular friends from then too. Like they know that I'm a furry and they're like, "Huh." I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a geographic thing cuz here in Hawaii like I think yeah, because you're also local too, that you can relate to this.
Yeah.
That it's not really a huge influx of furries. Like I would say off the top of my head, I could think about all the furries who live here on island.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, I completely understand that.
yeah, how like do you think that it's really well known here, or do you think that like people are more kind of a melting pot here that it really doesn't like bother anybody or kind of strike somebody as something surprising?
I think I think it would probably be a melting pot kind of thing because I mean Hawaii has a huge influx. I mean as well as many areas, but has a huge influx of military applicants that come in. They come in and they serve their 3 years here, or they tend to retire here or whatever. But a lot of those who come in who are shipped over to us,
Mm-hmm.
they might be secret furries, and then at the point where they're out there searching, and then they realize, oh wow, there is a furry community here at the 808. I'm
That,
going to message whoever I can find. Oh, look, I've actually had that happen to me once before because I actually posted on FA that I was in Hawaii, that I lived here, and I actually got a message from a random fur saying, "Hey, I am in the Marines, and I am going to be coming to Hawaii for my next 3-year term. You want to hang out sometime?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then I met the guy, and he's a really cool guy. Um, really, yeah, just really cool guy. We hung out and we had fun. We watched a movie, had lunch, and then later on, months later, I
yes.
hadn't heard from him for a while. Months later, turns out he was part of another couple friends that I always hung out with, and lo and behold, we became really good friends there too because he was always there and I was always there. So we were like, "Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?"
They were there already with your other furry friends.
Basically, how it came to be was on this island. Whenever I first moved here, because I was a military brat too. My father was in the army.
Oh, I did not know
Um,
this.
Yeah, he was a sergeant major in the army, 29 years in the military before he finally retired here. Um, we actually came here, and I didn't really know that many furs here. I worked 3 jobs. I was a paramedic, I was a bartista, and I was working Lyft.
Oh, wow.
A lot of different jobs, a lot of everything. Actually, I didn't get Lyft until later on. Excuse me, but I was a paramedic and I was a Bartista for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was at being a Bartista that I met a guy. Uh, he was a furry, and I had no idea he was a furry. Uh,
Oh, I think
and
I
he
know the
would,
story.
yeah, it's like, and he would always show up, and he would apparently be hitting on me, but I had no idea because with me, you got to be kind of blunt because if not, it's just gonna go whoosh right over
Same.
my head.
Same.
But in the end, I would always see him wearing a tail. He would always have a little fox tail,
Aw.
and I was like, "Oh, that's cute." I'm like, I wonder if that's real. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Um, Turns out, I joined the 808 chat because they were having an event, and I was like, okay, you know what? I do live here. I want to try to get a little social with you guys. Can I join? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I'm driving to the event, and then one of them calls me up and says, hey, are you coming from the west side? And I'm like, yeah, I'm coming from the west side. And he's like, can you pick up this guy over at the NEX? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it gives me his number, and I'm like, okay. And as I'm driving there, all I can think about is that guy with the tail that would always come and
Mm-hmm.
visit me. And I'll keep his name private,
Yeah,
just
that's
for
totally
the
cool.
okay. But I'm driving up, and I'm rubbing my chin, and I'm like, there's no way it's that guy. So I call him up, and he answers, and I'm like, this kind of sounds like that guy. And I'm like, no, there's no way. So I said, hey, I'm in a yellow Jeep. I'm not in a yellow Jeep, by the way. And I'm coming from the opposite direction. So he's out there on the basically on the sidewalk looking for me the opposite way I'm coming. And he's like, oh, I have a gray container with my suit in it. I'm like, okay, cool. I have my suit in the back. And I'm waiting and I'm looking. And then I notice him and I'm like, oh no. So I pull up in front of him and he looks at me and his jaw just drops. And I'm just staring at him and I lower the window and I ask his name, his Sona's name. And he's like, that's me. And he's like, are you Gear? And I'm like, that's me. And he's just like, okay. And then he puts his stuff in my car and gets in the car. And literally the next 8 to 10 minutes is pure silence
Oh,
driving to the
just
event
like
because
the most awkward silence, or
yeah, pretty much because we're both kind of stunned that that's the other person we've known for like 3 months plus already. to be actually a furry, and it turns out he had the hugest crush on me.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, I had no idea. But, oh, well, I guess my
That,
bad.
that is
Yeah,
funny that you mentioned, because like, yeah, when you say you're at work, you're in work mode, you're not really sharing like the furry lifestyle, but then here you have this other person who has
exactly.
a tail, like they wore a tail to work.
Exactly, yeah. He was sales at the time,
Oh.
downstairs. It wasn't part of the actual Navy exchange. So he was like one of those, I guess you could say one of the carts that are in the mall where you would
Oh,
walk
a
by and they
kiosk?
would try to advertise. Yeah, a kiosk. There you go. He was a kiosk worker for, I think he was at the time cell phone cases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was cell phone cases. He was trying to sell cell phone cases. Really good dude. But yeah, it turns out him and me become really, really good friends after that because now suddenly we have a huge amount of stuff in common.
Mm-hmm.
He introduced me to his family, quote unquote, his fur family here on the island, and I just hit it off with them so much to the point to where I just basically flink my way into this little clique, and we all become a massive little tight family of 9 people that is just like friends forever, high fives, to the point to where I mean, uh, like I guess the like I don't know how to explain it.
What's
Like
this?
they had a house called the Drunken Paw. Let's just say
Yes.
I got the garage door clicker because of how close I was to them, and I was able to just go over there, open the garage door, walk into the house, and play video games or sleep on the couch whenever I wanted. They would come home, be like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Gear? No surprise here." It would just be like, "Oh, hey, wait, you want to get a pizza? Yeah, sure, let's get a pizza."
That's so dope though too, and I'm really envious of that because at least like imagining like, oh, what if like furry wasn't just like this kind of passing lifestyle where I, go home, then I go to family, do family stuff, and then I can make time for like the fun furry stuff. But it's like no, I could just go home and home is furry and stuff. That's really cool.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, that I met all those ones, and I guess the patriarch dude of the household,
Mhm.
uh his name was Rogue, and I remember me and him were okay with each other. We were like all right, but I could kind of feel like there was a small little barrier there where he was kind of like a tough guy, and I was like, that's fine. It's like I'll peel through that eventually. But I
Mhm.
remember the day that basically solidified my connection with him and made me his brother was the fact being I was driving to the beach,
Mhm.
and then I get a call, and it's from him, and he's distressed and everything like that. Apparently his ex, or his girl, well, his ex now, broke up with him and like left him for somebody else, and he was just distraught. Nobody was around to help him because everybody's at work. I was the only one off that day, and I
Mhm.
guess he knew it somehow, I guess because of the group, and he's like, I really need somebody here now before I do something crazy and blah blah. So I was like, okay, got it. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't actually driving the car. I was with somebody. But I told them, okay, you go to the beach. I got some important stuff to do. And luckily, I was about maybe 5 or 6 blocks away from him at the
Mhm.
time. So my friend just dropped me off on the side of the street. And I just started beelining it down the street.
Mhm.
And I was running, man. I was like Forrest Gump. He was running. Um, but I did. I ran all the way to the Drunken Paw, but I stopped at the new Safeway that had just opened to grab a big ass gallon, or it's like one of those or pints or whatever of peanut butter Reese's ice
Oh,
cream
oh,
because
yes.
that was his favorite ice cream. And I'm like thinking to myself as I'm running, I'm like, what do I do? Okay, ice cream. Ice cream solves the problems. I know he loves Reese's. Grab that. Ran to the house. I was like, I'm here. It's like the door was open. I'm here. And then at that point, it's like, man, I remember I like was consoling him. We were basically, I gave him hugs and everything like that.
Mhm.
It's like sobbed, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream,
Just
making jokes, making him laugh, blah blah blah, and then suddenly it broke, and then at that point it was just boom, we became brothers, and that's where I pretty much got the clicker to the house because it was like, nah, you belong here, and I was like, yes.
That's super.
family.
That's super heartwarming, cause like that's like yeah, the best thing I guess you could have done, even though you weren't the best of friends at the time, was just being super comforting.
Exactly. And I mean, I wanted to be that for them because I mean, I really did. I liked that entire family. And again, I became part of that family. It was
Mm.
just at that point, it was done. Like we would have parties. I mean, I'm a non-alcoholic, but it's called the Drunken Paul for a reason. They got wasted every Friday after work, so everybody was just like on the floor on the couch. Some of the best shenanigans I've ever had was in that house, and it was just absolutely awesome. Uh,
Just
in the end,
mini
yeah, in
room
the end, it
parties.
was just exactly. In the end, it was like me usually, since I had the training, was making sure people didn't get alcohol poisoning and,
Oh God, yes,
everything
yeah,
like
that can
that. I'm
happen.
like, okay, you've had enough. No, no, I can take one more shot. No, you can't. All right, we're done. But I mean, there was even a picture made. Somebody commissioned. I think it was Dietz. His Sona's name. He commissioned a picture where everybody's passed out drunk on the floor or on the couch, and I'm just standing in the background holding the empty pizza box, and I'm just like, dudes, what the fuck?
Oh, if you have that, I'd love to see it. You gotta link me that.
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely show it to you later, and I'll share
Thank
it
you.
with you. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, it's the funniest thing. I love it to death.
How how long did that go on for? I mean, obviously, I know that you don't live at the Drunken Paw this day, but
Yeah. Actually, I never actually lived there.
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I lived down the street. Funnily enough, I lived down the street, like maybe half a block from them at the time. So I would literally just walk down the street,
Mhm.
open the door with the garage clicker, walk inside, and then just play their video games until they came home. I took care of that was another thing. I took care of the dog. Uh, they had a husky,
Oh, that's
the
so fitting.
derpiest. I know. I was like, oh yeah, I'm glad you like huskies. No, but she was the derpiest dog ever. I mean, like seriously, I would come in and she'd be licking paint or off the wall. She'd be licking the
Oh
wall,
my
and I'm
gosh.
like, why are you licking paint, crazy dog?
Moon Moon,
But
no.
I know, Moon Moon, no. But she would howl and bark, and anyway, it was great. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing though time, and it was about 2 years, I would say 2 maybe 3 years,
Mhm.
and then it was just, well, I guess you could say the owner of the house, they were just renting.
Mhm.
They basically sold the lease underneath my brother,
Oh.
and he couldn't renew. They didn't want to renew because they wanted to live there. So the Drunken Paw kind of dissolved. We're still all the greatest friends. All the group of us,
Oh,
we're
that's good
great,
to
the
hear.
greatest friends, and we still talk. We have our own chat group on Telegram, actually. Um, but yeah, it dissolved, and then in the end, everybody was military in that household.
Oh, okay.
So basically, times came, and it's like, okay, time to move to another duty station. Blah blah blah. A few people stayed here and there. Um, Rogue, he stayed until maybe like 2 years later, and then he left. But then he had a new apartment called the Drunken Cave because it was very small, and it
Everything's
was only
boozed.
yeah, exactly, and it was like only like let's see, a room and a half apartment, so it wasn't as big as the Drunken Paul that had 3 bedrooms and a very large living room and everything like that. But in the end, it was pretty much probably the best times of my life because I just had family and friends 24/7, no matter what. It's like if I needed to vent, there was people there. If they needed to vent, I was there. It was just amazing.
Yeah, that's a really comforting and like warm spot to have, especially through hard times. The one thing that you brought up that I can relate to heavily was that a lot of people, at least for the state, is yeah, we're kind of like this military hotspot,
Mm-hmm.
and people come and go, and I think that's like kind of it's really interesting because making such close friends that I have now, um
Right.
having them come to our state, becoming really good friends, and then seeing them off is kind of often really hard. But I'm really glad, yeah, we can stay so heavily in touch online, especially with Telegram and FA and sharing art. That really does keep the relationships alive. It is,
Exactly.
it's a
I
little,
completely.
I do get a little like teary now and again where it's like, oh no, you're leaving the island, and then, like everyone's going to the mainland and stuff. But actually, a person that does, hopefully is staying with me is my mate, Blarg. He's through the
Of
military,
course.
and I owe that relationship and a lot of my happiness that I have, because he came stationed here.
Exactly. And that's great. And I'm glad that you found each other.
Thank you.
Of course.
I wouldn't want to take up too much more of your time, but that was a really good story, and I really appreciate it. I think we're
Yeah,
running
no.
on like 1 hour already.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, I know. It felt like 20 minutes to be honest.
Yeah, no, trust me. You get me talking, I can just talk. My bad.
No, no, thank you. Like, oh my gosh, partly why I would love to have you as a guest again is because I love hearing your stories.
Oh,
Um,
well, much appreciated. I would definitely join you again.
Yay! So I hope to have you on again. This has been TreeBark, and thank you so much for your time gear. I really appreciate it, and I hope we can do it again soon. Is there anything else that you'd like me, or would you like to share with anybody out there, your friends, family, or other furs that you would like to know? Any shout outs or anything?
I would just probably say just keep true to yourselves. Always be your own personality. What you see online should honestly be what you are in person. Because in the end, it makes easier to make those connections whenever you actually meet that person in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And just always understand that you only live once, but stay safe, be kind to others, and always love often.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to my top dog patrons, Hattie, Moody, and Damon. I really do appreciate it. And if you'd like to support me, then you can also find me at patreon.com/shikokubo. Much appreciated.